Okay, live streamed, and then I've got to paste it into. So, okay, just
Daylight
for the
savings is
record,
a terrible idea.
right? Just for the record, it's what 5 o'clock here, East Coast time, and Dan, you say it's 9 o'clock in Australia, in Sydney.
In Sydney, Melbourne time, yes. East Coast time here.
Okay, and Kelly, what time is it in Malaysia?
6 a.m. morning.
6 a.m. Okay, for the record. Ah, okay. Okay. All right. I'm posting this in here. All right. So, do we have anyone wanting to? Well, let's just go around, say how you are. Okay, everyone, how you are. Um, oh gosh, let's get Kelly and Dan and Lan to wake up. I should be awake, but I just had a walk, so I'm gonna ask Sheridan. How
Yeah.
about you? You tell
Well,
us how you are.
it's 2:06 here in California, Northern California, and we're finally starting to get some water again. We're very dry, but we're a long way from recovering. But I've been, fortunately, every day above ground is a good one, and and also I'm fortunate to be able to gig at least once a month. I have a place that's been, playing and staying open safely, all during the COVID time, and so I feel fortunate about that. And we're also hunting for a new home about 60 miles south of us in Santa Rosa, so I may be there in the near future.
Thank you, Sheridan. How about you, Monica?
Hello. It's 3 o'clock here in Edmonton, 3:07. And there's no snow on the ground. It's still lovely. I did see pictures of Winnipeg, which is, a ways away from here, and they have about a foot of snow today. So it's inevitable, but we're happy. Every day when there's no snow yet, it's like, hello, we don't have winter yet. So it's nice that way. I'm doing well. I am teaching, I don't have any of my community groups, my adult groups, but I am teaching in school. So I have in my grade 4, 5, and 6 classes, which is where I teach ukulele, I have seven classes of them. And because of COVID and because of not being able to play ukulele and not be in my classroom for the last while, they're all beginners. So I'm kind of losing my mind just a little. Because we're all just figuring out how to hold the damn thing still, and but it is also interesting how much different a grade 4 learner is to a grade 6 learner. The grade 6s are continuing more quickly, but holy, that many beginners is a lot. But we're doing it, and I'm excited for us to be able to do that, and that I'm not teaching on a cart this year. So good.
We've lost Joanne.
Okay.
We've lost Anne.
This should work. Okay. Just to let you know, I'm on a Wi-Fi. Normally I'm hooked into the router or router. So if we're having internet problems, maybe it's not because of your connection, Lan. Yeah, Lan, you were are you stable now? Could you tell us what time it is over
Uh,
where you are?
for the moment, it is right at 4, just past 4 here, and I was probably the first one in the box because I got confused on time, and so I've been sitting lurking and waiting. I am unfortunately have tendonitis in my wrist for the ukulele reason, not for anything else you might think, and I'm nursing that and trying to get back together. And unfortunately, the best therapy is not to use it. So I shan't be playing any demonstrations today, but I can hopefully talk. The weather here is just bloody glorious. We have just left the rainy season, and beginning the dry season. And so it's a nice time here. Everything is lovely. I have been not only shot, but boosted. So I'm feeling better about the world. But I'm getting messages on my end that my router is unstable. My internet is unstable. So if you lose my voice or my face, you're lucky, because that's possibly going to happen. However, I do have something to share today, so hopefully we'll be able to stay on.
Great. Thank you, Lan. So,
Oh, and I just finished my first pluck and strum class a few weeks ago, and we've restarted another beginner class. And in my case, it's not fourth graders and sixth graders, it's 70. Yes? Am I kidding?
no, you're okay. I'm just putting
sorry,
this
no
in
audio.
gallery view because sometimes it's blanked out, but we could hear your voice. But go ahead. Lan. Uh-oh. Lan? All right. Okay. Lan, if you could type in chat because you're frozen. All right, let's okay, we'll get back to Lan. All right, let's move on. Dan.
Hello. So yes, it's.
I told you my
10
internet
past
was
9.
shit.
There we go. Hey, Lan. 10 past 9 here in Eastern Standard Time in Australia, along the East Coast. We don't seem to have seasons.
Dan,
you hear me okay?
yeah, that's right.
Yep, there we go. Yeah, we don't seem to have seasons anymore. We should be coming into spring right now, but it's nothing but cold and rain. Although just in the last half hour, I can see the sun, which is very nice. I live up in the hills with you guys have in America. There's the red gums, the redwoods and things like that. We have things called mountain ashes that hit just about 90 to 100 meters tall. We've over the last June, we had some very strong winds coming from an unusual direction. I had 22 trees come down in my on my property. It's taken me 3 months to clear that up. That's very exciting. And finished with one of the actual big monsters, 90 meter silver gum, come down. We've brought it down in 7 meter sections. I'm a tall person, but when I stand next to the logs, it comes up to about my chest. So they're massive. So if anyone needs a massive boardroom table or something, we're going to be milling those up. That's going to be pretty exciting stuff. We've just gone back from lockdown to the classroom, primary school teacher. That's very exciting. I've just had a week in isolation because a family with COVID sent their kid to school because apparently he was doing their head in at home. They hadn't actually tested him, but he was living in a house with COVID positive people. And surprisingly enough, he then tested positive. So that was a whole year level of kids out, and all the teachers that were involved were out for a week. Everything's back, which is great, but just had to rant about that for a second. Woohoo! We've next week, I've been teaching on Zoom the whole time. Next week, finally back to in session, on-site classes, which is very exciting. There hasn't been a lot of reasons to play. I think we're all aware of that. Festivals aren't on. So all my groups have, well, I'm playing, but I'm not, there's no reason to be playing. It's my parents' 53rd wedding anniversary in December. So all of my students are actually going to be playing the song that my parents, their first dance at their wedding. So they're not invited, still COVID rules, but we're filming it and making it a video, and we're going to be playing that at the celebration. So it's grasping at straws, but it's a reason to perform. We'll take it. So we're working on the anniversary waltz, which is also, it's a chance to play 3-4 times. So it's a win-win-win all the way through. And who doesn't love playing F sharp major? I mean, I tell you, it's fantastic.
All right, thanks, Dan. Okay, Kelly, you're back. I was worried about you.
Yeah, I have almost gone to heaven. I have a double poisoning 3 weeks ago. Anyway, for Malaysia, we have just actually started to open up 2 weeks ago. We had lockdown since May. So for 5 months, we have been locked up in our house and everything stopped. So only 2 weeks ago, we opened up and I'm allowed to go back to music center to teach. But the moment we open up and the cases goes up again, from May, we have about 20,000 cases daily. That's very alarming for a small country like us. Then in September, October, the cases dropped to 4,000. Then the government opened up. And then just 2 weeks now, it's go up to 6,000 cases daily. So actually, whenever I go to a music center, I actually quite worried. Still in the music center, many still on online classes, still Zooming. I only got 2 children come back to do physical class. So for my ukulele community, I don't want the children to stop just like that. So what happens is I invited the children, those parents were a bit daring or they trust my they trust my house. It's COVID free, so they will send the children to my house. So now I got about 10 children in my house. I make sure I observe social distancing. They wear the mask and we strum and sing. So I'm going to have a Christmas concert for these 10 children in my house.
Wow.
Yeah. That's all. At the moment, my ukulele activities just not confined to my house for 10 kids only.
Whoa. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Mark sends his apologies. He can't make it. Last minute schedules. But great. Well, I just want to report that I had my first in-person class since February last year. So let's see, it was just a few weeks ago, beginning fingerstyle ukulele. And I have to say, at first, everybody was very nervous, had the masks on. And then I just asked, shall we reach a consensus? Do you want to take it off? And then we did. And then because we started 2 classes with Zoom, oh, sorry, Lan, you've got it on share. Yeah. Sorry. I'm just gonna stop your sharing. Okay. And because we started with Zoom, the first 2 classes, I decided for our in-person class to make Zoom available for those people who couldn't come in. And then the 4th class, I didn't have Zoom available. And then the 2 people that weren't there, they just missed out. And then one of them asked if I could do a recording. Yeah. So the 5th class, I decided to make a hybrid. Yeah. So I had 3 people on Zoom and 4 people in person. So one of the topics I like to talk about maybe in the future is, has anybody done a hybrid class? So basically have some people in Zoom while you're conducting the class, because I told those people in Zoom that I won't be able to fully engage with them because I was kind of conducting the ensemble, so to speak. And I had them on my iPhone, so I couldn't really see how I was looking, how it looked. Anyway, those people that came into class, they got my handouts, whereas those that didn't, they only got the scans of my handouts. So it wasn't, I suppose, as good. But then for our next and last class, which is next week, this is 1.5 hour, I asked if everybody could come in. So they all said yes, because I said I wanted to do recording. Yeah, I want to record. So that's what I have to report. And also, I'm at that point where instead of thinking about what kind of book I want to write, I'm churning out stuff, you know. And in a marathon against myself, because yesterday I decided to just tab some arrangements I made of Chinese songs in the summer, and before long I had about a dozen songs. So this is my volume 4 of my arrangements for ukulele. And these are songs that I think my parents sang when I was a kid. So I haven't heard them for many, many decades. But the minute I heard them, you know, I became all tearful because it's like, oh my gosh, I remember that. I was a toddler, you know, when I heard that, you know, and now I know what the words are because I just knew the tune. So, and then I remember the artists that sang those songs and I read about them. So I was on this whole trip yesterday, not to mention before that, I was doing arrangements for my classical music for ukulele classes. And I'm just churning out stuff. And, you know, and then just to report one more thing is I decided to offer Beatles for ukulele class. And because I don't know the Beatles, I had to read about them, you know, like in my life. What does that mean? Who wrote that? You know, and tried to make decisions on which songs to do. But this is the pluck and strum. So I'm curious, who mentioned pluck and strum? Lan. Because for me, pluck and strum means authentic replication, you know, replicating every riff because there were 4 people in the Beatles. So therefore, you know, what did everybody do? Whereas ukulele players or song sheets tend to be only the harmonic rhythmic component. So that's what I have to report. Oh, I see Lindsay here. Lindsay, we're just doing our rounds. Could you tell us how you're doing and then also what time it is over there? So
It's second question first. It's 25 past 10 in the evening. But I get a line tomorrow, so that's okay. And I'm doing all right, thank you.
So we just reported on what we're up to, what we're doing, because today's topic is on lesson plans and syllabus and any topics for future. Yeah.
Okay. I think one that would be really useful for me actually is I've started teaching a few students individual lessons from beginners, and I've done it a lot. But I think it'd be interesting to get any sort of fresh ideas on the very first introductory lessons to teaching it, really, just to refresh my ideas and how I approach it.
Oh, good. Okay, great. Thanks, Lindsay. And I just want to say that I visited Lindsay in England. Yeah, and so we spent half a day.
It was, yeah. It's really good to meet you. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it was wonderful. So I highly encourage, if at all possible, because for me it was amazing. You know, we didn't have enough time. I think I showed up as early as I could, and then before long, you know, you gave me a great lunch, and before long it was time to go. We didn't even get to jam or anything.
So. No.
We didn't
I think we covered a lot of really interesting and useful sort of topics.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. All right, so let's get started. Lan, you were about to share something. Yeah? Do you want to share what you want to share? Or just have you unmute first.
All right. Yeah, thank you. I didn't realize that. I thought I had I could start the share to see how to get to what I was doing and then have to push the button to put it on the screen. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt before. This is obviously a very active and very, in every way, well-prepared group of instructors. So I don't mean in any way to talk down to anyone. However, I have seen a lot of people who are of less caliber, perhaps, trying to teach And so some of the points that I might touch on are intended for people like that. It's instructing in the general, not in the specifically for this group. One of the things that I have had experience with is well-meaning teachers wanting to share their love of the ukulele. And they say, well, we'll just get together and see what everybody wants to do. We're just going to go in and I'll wing it. And it takes an extraordinary teacher to simply wing a class. You really want to go in thoughtful and prepared. And I like the idea of handouts because no matter how eager the student is, you want to teach them and then you want to send them out the door with something that they can, in a permanent form, either by emailing it to them or handing them a piece of paper with it printed out on it. And the closer that reflects what the content of the class was, the easier it is for them to relate to it and to season it and put it into their long-term memory. So I have a little class that I teach, a one-shot class called Out of the Nest. And it's typically given after the students have had their beginner class, which is mostly focused on chords, chord progressions, the left brain, right hand for right-handers. And then we have another class that follows that, which prepares them right brain, left hand, or excuse me, left hand, right brain, which teaches them basic strumming, basic plucks, not every pluck, not every strum, but how to hear the song and how to adapt a good strumming pattern into their play so they can play a song effectively. And at that point, they now have all the tools to go to a jam. They have all the tools they need to play with others, but they lack confidence. They don't believe they're good enough. They don't believe they know enough. If I go and play at a festival, if I go and play with a jam group, I'm going to be the weak link and everybody will be looking at me and making fun of me and so forth. So I have this one-day class to give them the boost it takes to get out and do it. And what I'll show you, I've got it here. I put it into one document, and what I've got is basically the essence of the hour, what I'm going to talk about, and then I teach from that sheet. And then at the end of the class, I'm going to give them that sheet to take away. And so the idea is you plan what you're going to teach. You have specific teaching points that you're going to cover. So you know where you're going. You're not wool gathering and trying to decide what to say next. You have already got it written out and planned out, and you try to stick to the plan. And then I have some exercises that go with the plan to demonstrate the points. And let me just show you what I've got, if I can find my way there. Let's, okay. Okay, I don't know how to make that come up. Oh, there it is. There you go. Ukulele instructors out of the nest. Can everybody see that? So this is what I teach from, and this is also the handout for the students.
We just see all your files. Is that what you wanted us to see? Files?
Well, what I should have up now is one page.
We don't
out of the
see
nest
that.
and on your own.
We don't see that.
Can you see that?
No. We just see basically all your files, the names of all your files.
Okay, then we have stopped one step. I opened up a file after that.
So you need to do new share to go there. Can you do new share and then go to that window?
I'm lost. I have no idea.
Okay.
Wait a minute. I am screen sharing, it says.
Yeah, this happens because you're sharing the wrong screen. You need to click on the right screen.
Oh, wait, there's the one. Can you see this one?
No, no, you need to do a new share because it's fixated on your,
A new share.
yeah, filing
Okay. New share. And
and go there.
how about that?
No, why don't you stop share and then start the share
Can
again?
anybody hear me?
Why don't you stop share and then
Hello?
stop share?
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, let's try that again.
stop share.
Well,
Yeah.
okay, try.
So this
All right, try
happens-
that. Does that share?
It takes a little bit of time for it to start the screen share. There you go. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
We can see that. Maybe
All
you,
right. So
on the
this
right
is,
hand side, to click on the up arrow, the very right, so that we could clear some of the headspace. If you move your
okay, I
cursor,
can't even hear you.
you can't hear me?
It's my internet, I'm sure.
Okay.
All right. Can you see the out of the nest? Dan can see it.
Yes, we can
He's
see it.
already down under. And he
Yeah, we can
it.
see it.
Okay. So this is my first page, and just I'll scan down the page. This is basically my lead in. This is what I'm going to say. If you're going to play in groups, you need to have the confidence to play. Don't panic. Everything is fine. You will gather extra information down. What about now? And to understand what I'm going to tell them, I have to tell them a little bit about theory, which at this point in their training, they haven't learned yet. So this is not even skimming. This is the barest introduction to music theory without going into detail. I just want to go over this and say, you don't have to memorize this, but this is the what it's based on. And and there's peek at music theory, simplifying song sheets, and final emergencies. So the theory, you've got 4 fingers, 4 points, the 7 notes of a major scale. Number 1 is called the root. That's all you need to know. Of those 7 notes, the first, third, and the fifth make a chord. That's all you need to know. If you take the note names and put them together and using a pattern, which you'll learn later, you get the key by that root name. So there is a thing called the key of C major. And then the main idea is that within the, they're all called, when you're playing majors, minors, and 7th chords, the basic chord is still hidden inside the chord. The extras are simply extras. If everybody in a group is playing a C7 and you play a C major, you're not going to stick out. You're not going to embarrass yourself. You can play with your head up and be confident that you're blending with the group, because the C major chord, the C7th chord, is the C major chord plus the C7. So that's the main idea about theory. Study this later, I'll give it to you. So that doesn't take very long, but it gives them an idea that there's a pattern to this. And so then I go into simplifying song sheets. You're going to play some exotic Neil Diamond song, and it has 7 chords in it, which you don't even recognize. You are allowed to drop off 6th and 7th marks from chords and just play the major. If you don't know the 6th chord, just play the major chord. It'll be fine. Anything that shows up as a slash chord, /A, /D. Yes, that's interesting, and it's particularly interesting for guitar players and bass players, but it doesn't matter mostly for ukulele players, and it certainly doesn't matter for you. You simply ignore the /D, ignore the /A, play the F, play the G. That's a rule. If you get a 9th chord or an 11th chord or a 13th chord, you can simply ignore those extra numbers. because they are just the major chord plus a 7th, an 11th, a 13th. So do not be intimidated when you see these others. Simply simplify from right to left. Start dropping things off from right to left. Play your major chords, the one you just learned in the beginner course. And it doesn't mean you won't later learn those, but you need to do it. And finally, the emergency out you've got is that if you hit a B minor diminished, demented 7th, you can just not play. And this is eye-opening for a lot of students. If you go hit one chord, a few measures in which you play nothing, in which you're just playing a Z chord, playing a little percussion, tapping on your instrument, or just going silent and continuing to sing, nobody will complain. It won't hurt anything. Just look ahead and see the next chord you do need to know and play that. Is anybody hearing what I'm saying? Are we all?
No, this is
wink
good.
out?
Thanks, Lan. Yeah.
So that is the whole course. Okay, so that's the whole course. Now, what I've got here are instructor notes. If I'm having another person teach the class for me or with me, I'll give them this, and I also have this for my reference, to recognize the importance of how to teach this class. What I just showed you is the class, and it takes a while for students to practice it and play with it and demonstrate it, but the essence of the class was that first page, and I give them that to take home at the end. But this is instructor notes telling another instructor for working with me. It's what are we trying to do here? We're trying to give them confidence, and we're teaching the technique of song sheet simplification, which is important for everybody, because if you don't occasionally hit a chord that you don't know, don't understand, never seen before, you're not being very ambitious. I do it all the time. So job one is review the rules for simplification. Job two is to convince them that they can get by with it and answer their fears, job three. And to do that, I have some exercises. You C7, C6, and C, for example. You let each of a third of the group, or a couple from each, if it's a small class, you let a couple of each play each one of them at the same time. And you hear just how good that sounds together. And then you rotate and you let them play different ones of those three, and realize that no matter which one they play, they blend together, they sound fine. And the same thing with A minor and A minor 7th, C, and then this is the first upper position, closed C, and then a C5, which is one of my favorites, 0033. And again, you rotate it through and say that if we're all playing three different chords at the same time, or two different voices, we still sound good together. And then if they're still not convinced, we can do the same thing with the D. And then to make that even better, you as the leader play an A major minor, major 7th, and then let the other people in the group play an A major or an A minor. And you say, see, I'm not going to complain, it still sounds fine. And the other, I have a couple more. If you have time or you have a resistant group, your purpose is to show them that these all sound good together. They're different voices or different chords, but in the same family and so close together that they can fake it. So that is what instructors are coached to do. And then as a second takeaway, I don't always give this out, but I can. There are people who say, yeah, but I only know the beginner classes. You only know the beginner chords. There are only 5 to play something other than that, walk away. And so this is an explanation of how those work. And if you play the first 2 keys, C and G, it only requires 4 chords, 2 7th chords, and 2 minors. And at that point, you can now play 63% of all the typical songs you find in a uke group. And I went and I've collected lots of books, and I went through methodically every one of them, noting how many in each key. And my informal survey shows that 63% or either 32% are key of C. A third of all uke canicapella or uke club songs are going to be in the key of C, no surprise. And then by the time you do C and G, which only requires 7 chords or 8 chords, you can do 2/3 of all the songs that are out there. When you add D, you're now up to 75%. And if you do F and A, you've got 90%. So your basic beginner chords are going to serve you well to begin playing. Now, in a lot of these songs, you're going to hit some extra chords, but that's what the song simplification is supposed to be. You can learn those chords at your leisure. You can, if you have a good mark on the song sheet, you can try to play it the first time. But if you don't freeze up, you don't panic, you simply fall back and play on one of the 18 chords that you were taught in the basic class. So that's doable. And this one, I don't always do it. And if you can see the little most used chords here, this is from a ukulele site that did a far more detailed exam than I did. And this is the distribution of how often chords are used. So if you look over here and see E flat is way low in terms of all the uke songs that they found. So if it takes you a while to learn E flat, there's no great loss. The ones that you want to know are the ones over here that you're going to use all the time. And again, I don't teach this class as an excuse for not learning or for stopping your learning. I use it as a way to shepherd them out of the class and into the groups. And the principle behind this is there are tricks, the emergency and the simplifying the song sheets. Here are some exercises to give you confidence in the tricks. And the idea is I want them to be fearless and go forth and learn to play and have fun and join the groups, because the ukulele is a terribly friendly instrument. It is not a lonely oboe player practicing their etudes in their studio. It's something people do in groups, happy, drinking, joking, and so forth. And that's what I brought to things. Now, there are other ways to organize teaching plans, and all of you are good teachers, and some of you have lots of professional certifications as teachers. You know that a lesson plan, a teaching plan, is essential to doing a good job. You have to know what you're going to teach before you step up in front, and then you wing it. But you still have to have an idea in mind what to do. Well, that is what I got. I will send this document to Anne so she can include it in her follow-up message, so that anybody else who wants to look at it and play with it may. So there we are.
Len, you
Did
can
my
actually
voice hold up through most of that?
Yeah,
Yes,
we
it
heard
did.
most of you. Yes. Okay. Sheridan.
Len, you can actually put that file in the chat. You can attach it.
All right, let me try that.
Yeah, just you could upload it. This is great. So maybe what we could do is go around the Zoom room again and share whether you have a syllabus or you develop a lesson plan for the way you teach or what you teach. For me, it's every term is different. I just recently started to put together something like this because I'm offering different things each time. So I'll just share with you. So I have my schedule. This term looks like this. Mondays, I have 5 classes. They're all 1 hour except for my in-person class. So I use Jeff Peterson's new book, Low G book, and this is a small group, 5 students, going through piece by piece, really talking about the fingerings and everything. And then Beatles, this is authentic replication. This is a new class. All the bolded ones are brand new classes, never ever offered before. Boot camp is my standard. Boot camp is, I suppose, would follow from Lan, what you said. I teach the 20% that you need to do 80% of what you want. So all those chords that you talk about, and then the strums and then the chord progressions. And then I started teaching piano, group piano, and then I threw in music appreciation. But each one of these, initially I offered 15 different classes. It was too much. Now I have 10 different classes. This stand-up uke with performance focus is a merger of 3 different classes because they had low enrollment. So this one, I encourage people to stand up and play and try to memorize and look at the audience and have them. So 2 of them gave their debut performance Thursday at my 3-chord Thursday. They never performed in front of this group in Zoom before. And then my in-person class. So each of these, I have different plans for 7 weeks, 7 or 8 weeks, 6, 7, or 8 weeks. Most of them are 7 weeks. So this is my new book. And then this is another class called Ukulele, and I haven't started that class yet. So it's just it's like a lot, If I've taught the course before, then I use the previous, I could just take from the previous. But if I haven't taught it before, I have to develop it from scratch. And sometimes I don't know what level people are at. So what I do is start to do something called a kind of guessing game for my Beatles class. Before the class started, I wanted to know what level they were at because I frankly speaking, just didn't know what level they were at. So let me just share that with you. Effectively, I had them guess. Okay, guess what this came from. So give the name of the title, the Beatles song, and So I guess we could try that. Shall we try it just for fun? I don't know how many of you are Beatles fans, but what song is this? Because the song is about authentic replication, I'm not sure if I could guess what it is from the riff up there, but maybe from the chords, we might be able to get it. So like 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So, ooh, I need your loving. It's so nice. Right. Right. So it's not always obvious. So I had them work by themselves and guess it. And then, so they vary in terms of difficulty. And then those people that got the most correct, I'm going to guess, well, probably they're more advanced, and I could see how most people got maybe 2 or 3 out of 13, right? So that gave me a kind of understanding what it is. So I'm just curious what everyone else has. So, I mean, like, how do you assess what level they're at, right? Most of them are my own students, so I kind of know where they're at, but sometimes there's a few newcomers and I don't know where they're at. Who wants to go? Monica? Okay.
I think I would just ask them to not be beginners, or to say this is Beatles for beginners. Although that's tricky because Beatles songs have a lot of chords. They're not just 3-chord songs like we think they might. So I would probably say if you're signing up for the Beatles course, you need to be not a beginner. So you need to have, or maybe I'd list some chords. If you know these chords, I think you might be ready to do this course. Something like that, because it would be tough for beginners.
Sorry, none of these are beginners, but they're different levels of picking proficiency and tab reading proficiency. I had somebody ask me if I would give a course just on how to read tabs faster. Yeah. But all of them love the Beatles, so they all knew much more about Beatles and Beatles songs than I did, you know. And one of them asked for Here Comes the Sun, and right away I said, oh, that is difficult, right? Because I know she's just started to play the ukulele this year, yeah. But then she's really good in performing because she performed in my other class. So it's like this really hard to gauge. You know, some people can sing very well. Their sense of rhythm is really well, but they just started on the ukulele. Ooh, you got a Daniel Ho ukulele. Whoa, Spalted Mango too. Me too. Oh God, I've been highlighting on you, Monica. Is that a tiny tenor, or is that's a tiny tenor?
It is. It's a tiny tenor. Yeah. I was inspired by you, Anne. When I met you in Austin, you had the Daniel Ho, and that was okay. And then Steph and I were in Los Angeles, and we had a lesson with Daniel Ho. Oh. Then I was really inspired, and I saw a Spalted Mango at the shop where we had our lesson. And then about 5 or 6 months later, it was like, oh, dang it, I gotta buy myself one of those. So I did. So it was a long time coming, but you planted the seed.
It's the best. It's the best of all my ukuleles. It's really great. Yeah. No, thanks. All right. Somebody else want to, Sheridan?
I have one. When I started teaching at music camps, the first things I was teaching was vocals, and I was big on harmony. And one of the things that one of my classes was Triad Secrets for Better Harmony. And then I realized after playing ukulele that if people, this is not beginners, if you could play a B flat, which is a movable shape, that's the only shape that actually has a perfect octave triad under your fingertips. So I changed my class to Triad Secrets right under your ukulele fingertips. And just like, Len's little, 1, 3, 5, forget the 6th and 7th and all those things. Well, one of the things I found is if you can play that shape, and it moves to B to C, it's 1, 3, 5, 8. And if you drop your pinky, you get 1, 3, 6, 8. And you can make a 1, 3, flat 7, 8. You can put your pinky on the first string and make a 9. And so there's 4 sounds out of one major chord. And then you can do the same thing with the minor. So it's 1, 3, 5, 8, 1, 3, flat 5, 8, and then 1, 3, 6, 7, minor 9. So you can learn to play those just by learning the basic triad under your fingertips. And it's also for people who are singing harmony, if your note is not on the melody, it can be one of those choices. And that's what makes it kind of simpler to understand. And plus, you can, get all kinds of flavors with that. this. So my feeling is if people should learn some basic chord building skills, and the B flat shape is the best for not just harmony, but for also understanding how that's the only chord where it's, especially if you're playing low G, that layers them in the order that you can sing them or play them and play chord melodies out of them as well. So I use that in my classes a lot.
Thank you, Sheridan. Okay, all right. So I'm just curious, how do you structure, how do you approach, your class? Just kind of the overview. Dan, yeah.
There are regular components of every class. It's a joke now with my students and I, but I start every class with, so who did their 5 hours of practice this week? And when you first ask that question, you see these shocked looks on people. Was I supposed 5? That's a lot. Now they realise, no, that's okay. So dealing with primary school kids, if I get 5 minutes a week, I'm going, great job, you're my favourite student. That's fantastic. But occasionally you get a couple of people going, well, I didn't do 5 hours, but I suppose it added up to 1 hour. You're my favourite student. Well done. So the first thing we do is, well, what is it you practice? What do you want to show us in the class? Now, I work with groups of maybe 4 students at a time. And also, so I very strongly know where everyone is, and to jump back to what you were going, because they move up, they progress together. And the goal I find is get them to the point where they are then able to go off and pick things up themselves, and they join the school orchestra and all that sort of stuff. But of course, we keep progressing in lessons as well. And when one brings, oh, I heard this, how do you do this? And then suddenly there's 3 other people in the room going, oh, that is interesting, how do you do that? And then so we all step together. And then you get a new batch of absolute beginners, and we start that journey. We go up through there together as well. But so anyone do any practice? Please? Okay, great. What did you practice? Some scales to actually start off. Not for the beginners. Beginners, we just play cool songs. That's ukulele is either it's kids or adults. It's instant gratification. If it's not fun, why on earth are we doing it? So once we get past some basic things, it doesn't work so much for new kids these days, unless I say, play that for your parents. They'll be impressed. But the very first song I usually teach anyone is You Two Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For. I've transposed it to C, but it's C suspended, 4, F, and a G. And each of those actually is a step to the next one. So it's all zone of proximal development and stuff. If you can play C, you can do a finger wiggle to get C suspended 4th. If you can play C suspended 4th, well, that's just a finger wiggle. Your first finger's in position, get your second finger in position, you're suddenly playing F. Each is simply a step on from what you've got already. There's nothing surprising. And so those are the songs we start with. But a month or 3 in, I said, now, you don't know anything about music theory. We call it a C major. Do you know why it's called a C major? And we have a little bit of that, but it's basically, I teach scales starting off with finger patterns, just using the C, E, and A string. It's 1, 3, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4. So if you just do that, and they learn that. So the first finger's in the first fret, third finger's in the third fret. So you get also that discipline of 1 finger, 1 fret sort of thing, which means you don't have to look at what your fretting hand is doing all that much once you've got that going. You then go, now, did you realize you're playing a particular major scale doing that? It's called the C sharp major scale. Not a lot of songs in C sharp, but luckily that's a movable pattern. If you choose a different fret to start in, you're also playing a major scale, and the major scale is the name of the note you start and finish on. So if you start in the 2nd fret, you're suddenly playing the D major scale. If you start on the 5th fret, you're playing the F major scale. All you need to remember is the finger pattern, 1, 3, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4. So while we're doing that, we're learning the fretboard names of the C string, because that's the starting point. So we're playing, right, who can play me the G major scale? And that you can see them count, okay, so that's C, C sharp, D, counting down the fretboard. And then after a bit of time of that, we then go, well, let's start on F major on the 5th fret. Who can actually tell me the names of the notes we're actually playing? Because they're not called 1, 3, 1, 2, 4, 1, 3, 4. So we get these successes, and then I'll go, but there's more. But there's another thing to learn. And while we're doing that, I mean, F major's easy. It's the letters of the alphabet, but when you get to B, say B flat instead. And while you're doing it, you're also then learning, well, here, that's where that B flat is on the fretboard, and over here as well. And you're building your fretboard knowledge as well as your skill, just basic discipline of moving your fingers around in a caged system. And again, it's instant gratification. So I have kids in prep who are knocking out major scales. So that's fantastic. Now play an F major scale for me. Off they go. Because it's tiny incremental steps that aren't that much of a stretch from where they are already. It's just step, step, step. And then they're suddenly, all of a sudden, they're going, hot damn. It's a pretty special feeling when you hear a prep say, hot damn, I've got this. So, that adults are simply taller, I find, as far as learning goes. If you don't get that instant gratification, if it's suddenly, that's a really big step, I'm not quite sure what's going on, that's where you start losing interest. It has to be boom, 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 boom. So whenever a new chord, I want to introduce a new chord like B flat, which is, I agree with Sheridan, an incredibly important chord, but very difficult to play, I make sure I bring in a song that has B flat in it. That's a really cool song to play. So I want to play that song, so I'm going to practice that B flat. And then I go, you've got B flat. Look at all these other songs you can play with B flat as well. And hey, did you notice that's a movable chord? Let's do this. Hooray. And off we go. So it always is step by step by step. And so we have, yes, scales, songs that we're particularly working on. I'm a big fan of the AMEB system, simply because the resources they have available are magnificent. There's backing tracks, there's everything they have is music notation, which we don't start with, but we get into eventually. Tabs and chord charts across the top. It's everything you could possibly need, and it's the kids, the great songs. Like the very first song, Beginners, is Demons by Imagine Dragons, playing 4 chords, and it sounds like you're part of an orchestra. It's pretty amazing stuff. And again, we just build and build and build and build and build. And then all of a sudden we're there in the school orchestra, knocking out Stairway to Heaven. I'm a firm believer everyone should be able to play Stairway to Heaven, particularly as we've finally hit the 50-year mark and no one has to... speaking of, Lana was talking about scary named chords. The very second chord, A minor major 7 add 2. Wow! That is the name of the most amazing chord. I love that, but it's 2 fingers. Don't be scared about the names. I mean, E major sounds like it's a friendly chord, but A minor major 7 add 2, that's 2 fingers. Easy peasy. So again, it's that question of never be put off by the name of something. Actually have a look at what it might be a pretzel chord, but then again, it could be just a finger wiggle. C suspended 4th, it's a finger wiggle. That's all it is.
Should we use that as our new passcode? A minor major 7 add 2. That will definitely prevent photo bombers.
I missed the photo bombers. That was so fun.
So wait, you were saying, what is the name of the person? Amy B.
Sorry. The Australian Music Education Board. So
okay.
The AMEB series of books that they've only just brought out for ukulele. It's for orchestral study. So it's from debut up to grade 8. So that's a structured format. They've recently brought them out for ukulele. They're a tremendous resource.
Wow, and they have backing tracks?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So
Can you send? Could you send us a link or something for us to look at? I'm also curious, are they similar to what Paul presented about their levels? Do you remember that?
I do remember. It would be a similar thing. I'll bring up an example of. Let's see. Here we go. I mentioned demons, so here we go. So this is share the screen. So here is the very first song of their very first book, C, G, A minor, F, and that chord progression is repeated again and again and again. But that means that you're then able to focus on things like, well, for a lot of people I teach, this is gibberish. Music notation means nothing to them, but they can follow a tab chart and they can certainly follow the chord chart across the top. But I go, well, there are 4 introductory symbols you need for music. This circle by itself, that means you're playing that chord, that note for 4 long beats. So it's quite a long sound. Whereas when we come down here, it's got a flagpole attached to it. Well, that's a 2-beat note. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then when we come down a little bit further, we've got 1-beat notes. It's a coloured in circle with a flagpole. So we're recognising these shapes and seeing that the one thing I find about tabs is if you don't know the rhythm, they're not that much use to you. They'll tell you what notes to play, not how long to play them. So we, in conjunction with knowing what the chord is, double checking that's what we're supposed to be doing, and then we can see what's the rhythm that we're playing. So we're playing a conglomeration of all this information. So we're by accident almost bringing in musical notation theory into our playing. So this very first song is recognizing those 3 symbols, right here, and right here. So 4-beat, 2-beat, 1-beat, and the repeat symbol. That's the point of this song, apart from the fact that you're playing a really cool song. There is also ukulele 1, ukulele 2. One of the most important skills you can learn as a reading music musician is ignoring the bit that doesn't involve you. That looks very overwhelming, but when I say, well, actually, you need to remember you're only playing 1 ukulele at a time, hopefully. If not, get yourself a TV show, you're very talented. You can ignore that because that's we're playing this bit here. So being able to ignore things is also a musician skill. Not many people talk about that, but absolutely. And then when they get the hang of this, then we look at the other side and go, oh, there's a melody as well. So brilliant resource. I'll play the backing track. I'll stop the share. And where are we?
Can we access this resource, or do we have to be Australian?
It's available. You can purchase it internationally. I know that. I'm pretty sure actually it's a London or an England thing. AMEB franchised Rock School is which I think is an England-based company and organisation. So they simply said, we'd like to pay you to use this program that you have, and we're going to put it under the AMEB title in Australia. So
you licensed Rock School for AMEB or vice versa?
AME, yeah, not personally. I'm not involved, but I just buy the books. But so yeah, AMEB, I believe, and I'm speaking as a complete outsider. That's my understanding, is they've licensed this system from Rock School in England.
But the basic format, I think in all the Commonwealth, you have the levels and so forth
Exactly.
for the various instruments. That's part of a sort of a Commonwealth format.
Exactly. So the backing track, I'll see if I can get it so you can hear it. is here you go. So that's going, and you're playing along. So it's very strong sense of keeping in time and the rhythm, and you're feeling like you're part of this massive professional band. It's kids and adults go, that's the most fun I've ever had in my life. And I'm sure they've done lots of interesting things in their life, but suddenly they're part of a band, and all that, and this is just their fourth lesson. So
I just went to the AMEB website, and it's the book 1 is for sale. It says the Rock School Ukulele Method Book 1, and it's in stock and on sale. Is there more than book 1 available? I didn't check that.
There's the method. So there is the actual level. So there's debut, grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And they also have method books as well. So
may I ask, Dan,
Sorry,
may I ask, this AIME, is the exam syllabus, right? Is it just like the Rock School, the Rock School, they have grade
That's
1?
it. That's them. Yes, that's them. That's them there.
Right?
Yes.
I have all until the grade 8. Is it the same?
Yes. Exactly the same. It's a fantastic
Rock
resource.
School, Rock School exam syllabus. It's from London. I also have to purchase it, and it's very expensive, but I don't play. I don't send my student for exam, because for me, ukulele is for fun, so I don't send my student for exam. But right now in Malaysia, as usual, the parents are all very exam orientated. So they send the children to the local teacher who conduct this. But I bought it to do research on what's inside, and I found it's quite a very useful book, because they have a backing track, and it's very good for rhythm building.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Totally.
when I found out,
and building music theory knowledge.
Musician skill. Yes.
I only have one student who's
that you're using now.
She's very competitive. She wanted to do the exams. Everyone else, we're just doing it for fun. But the option is there. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much.
All right. Well, gosh, Lindsay, you knew about that, right?
I did as their competitor, actually, because because I've done the same thing for MTB exams, and the qualifications are equivalent to Rock School, but obviously we're not as well known yet. But I went to an interesting music sort of exhibition expo in September on music education, and I must say, in fairness to Rock School, they actually went to quite a poor part of Bournemouth on the south coast, apparently, and they've partnered with the school. And 3 of the students, their music was not, they had like 3 music students, and they built with Rock School's help. They built up the music department. There's about 21 students, and 3 of them have gone on to study at a higher level after leaving school. So it is a good syllabus. So I've got to begrudgingly admit that, even if they are competitors.
I have yours as well, Lindsay.
Okay.
Yeah,
How do your students find them?
They I think they like the challenge, bouncing from simply chord charts that I pulled off, Ultimate Guitar because they wanted that particular song, to something more formalized, such as yourself or the Rock School one. They're getting every possible input, and they're enjoying that. I think if I was hitting them with the same thing every time, that would be taking some of the shine off.
No, yes, yeah. I mean, I've started to adapt my own teaching, really. Like I've got a slightly older student who normally I'd start them off with some really basic stuff, but she could handle a few chords. So I just put on a CD of Other Side by the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and I just got her to play along with it, and she loved it. But
Yeah.
what I thought was interesting about that was that chord progression of this A minor, A minor, F, C, G, I think so. That's such a common chord progression. And what I've begun to realise is it's so useful and I think it relates to the Beatles thing as well, but the Beatles are probably atypical because they were so unusual in how they approach chords. But if people started learning more standard chord progressions rather than just individual chords, I think that's, you know, a really useful skill for them to learn as well. I tell them as a story when I was a bit underprepared for a rehearsal, and I was talking to a friend of mine, and we were meant to be doing Foot Tapper by the Shadows, and I was having a coffee with him, and he said, "Oh, it's the standard 1, 6, 4, 5 chord progression, and I think the introduction is just 1, 4, and 5." And just that one conversation over a cup of coffee, I then went to rehearsal that evening and played that song. And once you know the nuts and bolts like that, I think it's really useful.
Yes, that's right. Thanks for that. Just wondering, anyone else want to chime in on anything? Kelly, you want to say something?
Yes, excuse me. Yes, I would like to share my teaching syllabus. Usually, I conduct 10 sessions for beginners, and I only teach beginners. That's my strength. I teach small kids, 4, 5 years old, or those elderly persons. So I have a standard syllabus. I have a workshop, beginners. I tailor-make my own syllabus. Of course, I bought a lot of books. I had more than 200 ukulele books in my collection. So I will study all the books, and I found out that there are standard pedagogy of teachings the beginners. So I always encourage the young teacher also to start off with C key, followed by A minor, and followed by F and G7. And I saw some of the local teachers, they would just teach any key when they use a song. But for me, I'm very particular on the pedagogy of teaching. Why? Because simply when you're a beginner, when you look at the C chord, everyone start with C chord, it's easier. Then we go the A minor. Then they ask me, why not you go for the G key? Why not the G7? Why is A minor? It's because when you see the C, for the young children, you go and the fourth string, the top string, they see the difference. So from the C, you jump to A minor, very natural, and then you drop the finger, you have the F key, and then you move around, you get the G7. So I thought that is a very good sense of layering, pedagogy of teaching. Then from the C, I will bring the songs, the 1 chord song, 2 chord song, and then how you progress. I think you know what I mean if you are the teacher for the young kids. So this is how I start my. And as a teacher in Malaysia, we are multi-races. So inside my song, I have a Mandarin song, Chinese song, Malay song. Because I speak Japanese, so I also throw in Japanese song inside. So make my syllabus very interesting. Yes. Besides that, most of my children come to me, they don't have piano background, no music background. Okay, they just imitating, singing. So I will try to introduce 2 skills, the C key and the F key, using the solfege system. I will say, come, let's say do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Then I, things like that. And I use the number system because in Malaysia, we have a lot of books from China and Taiwan. If you are in the numbers, if you know what I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you sing as, do, re, mi, or hot cross bun, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 1, but it's a number. So they will see the 3, 2, 1, they will say as mi, re, do, mi, re, do. So I teach that also. Every lesson, before I start singing the song, I will have a finger exercise. I call that ruler exercise. So I say, come children, let's do ruler exercise. Then they just, why this ruler exercise is important? Because, it's a measurement of the ukulele. They without looking at here, they look at you, they know where to place a finger. So ruler exercise to me is very important. So also for young children, like 6, 7 years old, because they're going to go for competition, finger style is important. So I will introduce a simple 2 fingers. I will say inside, outside, inside, outside. I will use Mandarin, 里面外面, 里面外面. Just like this, and then stay here. So for the 9, 10, 11, I will introduce them 3 more fingers. So this is a compulsory for me. Every lesson, 5 to 10 minutes, ruler exercise, spider exercise, you know, and then the finger picking exercise. Yeah, that's my sharing. Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, that's really good. You have are these 1 hour classes, 1 hour lessons? They're in person, right?
Yes, it's a group class, 1 hour session. Sometimes I did teach, I teach in YMCA. So because during COVID-19, so we have an online class and only one adult sign up, and she's from Holland. And I was thinking using the same syllabus because beginner class. And to my surprise, you know, she can sing so well. She sings better than me. So at the end, I introduced my level 2, which I train a lot of finger pickings, a lot of big songs, you know, like music balls, all this, Anna, you know, finger picking, so that, you know, she learned more picking than just singing because she sings better than teacher Kelly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I have a class called Hum and Strum. I'm thinking of renaming it because it's really about singing in tune and playing in sync. Because I noticed that a lot of people actually don't sing, and they're not even aware that they can't hear the tune. You know, they can't. So intonation, they can't sing in tune, and so how to get there. So I started to customize a lot of my offerings. So hum and strum, that's called. Yeah. I don't know. Do you all feel that in the ukulele world, you almost have this divergence? You have the strummers who accompany themselves singing, but then they have to be able to sing, right? Be able to, you know, the whole vocal side of it, and then the awareness of being able to, you know, find their voice and therefore transpose and adapt a song sheet so they can play and sing in their key for that particular song. And then the other one side is the finger style, the instrumental ensemble, I call it, you know, where you don't necessarily sing, because plucking and singing is even harder than strumming and singing. So those are reading notes, and in that vein, I'm moving to Beatles, classical ukulele, you know, riffs, and, you know, I think I want to do James Bond next. So
I disagree about separating.
no, you disagree about separating. It's also separated. It's just that I want people to be able to pluck and to be able to strum, but if you want to replicate a song, you need to be able to do some riffs. So that means you have to read tabs. Yeah. In order to read tabs, they need to take some fingerstyle classes. So like the beginning fingerstyle class, the in-person one, or whatever beginning one, each time we meet, I teach them a new finger. So I start with, you know, the index finger, and then I do the middle finger. So then we could do, so I start with the index finger, so index and thumb. Next time is middle finger. So then the 3 of these, and then also how to navigate, how to pluck melody using alternating index and middle. And only then the next time I introduce the 4th finger, then I'd be able to do the arpeggio, the PIMAMI, whatever. And, but I don't want people just assume that if they could read tab, they know what to do with their right hand, you know, specifically. So, and there's some people that don't sing. They just don't sing at all, you know, so they want to be able to do more with the music. Well, we've got Sheridan, you want to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say 2 things. One is that on the informal side, I saw a great demonstration, a workshop, an improv workshop with Joe Craven. And what he did was, and you could do it with, you know, a muted ukulele, since you can get so many different sounds from all over the body and the strings, is that you actually create a conversation that's improvisational, that basically one person starts something and the other person is listening, and they have to come up with something that's different. And you keep adding people, they all have to add something different. And in less than, 4 or 5 minutes, everybody can be improvising on that sound without even any chords, just to kind of get a feel for what it's like to listen and play at the same time. So basically you're adding, but you're not overwhelming. You're contributing, but you're not taking away. It's a great learning process. I was astonished to see a group of 25 people who were handed little plastic cups and sticks and, bottles and things to making this wonderful noise. And the comment, that was raised afterward is that music is really innate in all of us. And most of it is kind of giving ourselves permission to join in, to try, whether we fail or not. In fact, there is no fail. It's, you find something and you make it work. And the other part, this is on vocals, is that I found is that, when I'm teaching a class or helping people discover how to make more sound, is to play with their voice and find their biggest, nastiest vowel, like eh, and then reshape it into the other vowels, and keep it in the same place. This is how you learn how to make noise on all the vowels, and any noise you can generate is yours to own. And then learning to breathe properly is what teaches you. But anyway, those are tidbits for today.
Thanks, Sheridan. Well, you're a vocalist. Yeah. I had to take, 2 choirs for 4 years to be able to sing in tune.
I come at it from a far other. I would not actually welcome my students to make those sounds, because I would lose my mind. I think that might work for adults, but no, I would just say no to that. Do I have time to jump in and just say a couple of things about my beginners?
Yes, please, Monica. Yeah.
I think one of the pieces that I see many people missing is the how to hold the instrument. And with children, it takes a lot longer than with adults. But several times adults have said, I'm getting carpal tunnel syndrome from holding, when I play chords and so forth. And so, like everybody here, pretty much the neck is raised, right? So that this hand isn't, cramped up and stuff like that. So with my students, especially my children, I am a taskmaster on getting them to hold the instrument properly. And I find that once this habit of holding the instrument properly is in place, then the chords happen easily. And everything from there, as I build up their repertoire of things that they're going to do, if the hold is there, then the rest just flows naturally. And if they're struggling with how to hold the thing, then everything else becomes a struggle too. So that's one piece that I really pay a special attention to at the beginning. And then I don't disagree. Like Dan, you were saying, give them something that they love, and like as soon as they're entertained or whatever, they go. I kind of come at it from another angle, which is because children take a lot longer to figure out, how to play the chords and change fingerings. I want them to concentrate on building their muscle memory for this. So I give them songs that they know already. So we'll start with a 1-chord song, which is all the easy ones: Row, Row, Row Your Boat, Farmer in the Dell, Frere Jacques, and all of those. So they're not really thinking about the singing. They're concentrating on this, and then they're concentrating on strumming the steady beat, and the singing is secondary at this point. And then as my second chord, I always introduce is the G7. So I go from C to G7, although I call it D to A7 because I teach in D6 tuning because it's a better key for children to sing in. C is too low. They're always in their talking voice. If I teach them in the key of D, which is already actually too low for children, it's better. So I have other reasons for it, but so their second chord is this one. They know it's a tricky one. It's a leap. And then we spend time listening to two chord songs. So here we are. We start here. Skip, skip, skip to my loo. And then the next line is skip. So they're listening to the melody has to be harmonized by a chord that sounds good with it. So again, there's nothing in front of them. It's just by ear. And what I'm building in them is awareness of how the harmony that they're playing matches the melody that they're singing. So I'm kind of assuming that they're all singers, but they are all singers because I've been working with them since kindergarten to be in their singing voice and so forth. So, and to match pitch. So the first big chunk is really about holding it and then training the ear to listen to the melody that you're singing and to harmonize it with a chord that sounds good. Then we add the third chord and so forth. I also purposefully don't teach tab because I do have them reading the notes on the staff. And they have already been reading the notes on the staff. If they've done any recorder work, they all know TAs, TTs, quarter notes, eighth notes, half notes, whole notes. They already know that. So I'm trying to demystify the staff and note reading so that when they leave me and they choose to go in our middle school, that's when band starts. So they already know how to read the notes on the staff. They just apply it to a different instrument. So I'm sort of keeping them a little bit, shielded from the tab just because I want them to, first of all, be able to figure out that that's the staff. And I really like, Dan, what you said about the tab is just being able to check. They can check what they're doing. I'd use it for that instead of teaching them tab and then trying to teach them notes on the staff is really complicated. It's too hard to do that. Just some of my thoughts.
Thank you, Monica. All right, Dan, last one before we end for today. Okay, go ahead.
Very quickly, just to respond to Monica with holding it with kids, absolutely. The two things I would always say is pull your sleeves up, watching the ukulele just slip around. It's start of every class. Sleeves up, let's get to work, everyone. And the other one is the ukulele is supposed to be an instrument of love and joy, but the way you get the best sound out of a ukulele is pinching it, thumb at the back. So who here is brothers and sisters? And they go, yeah, you know about pinching, don't you? They'll go, yeah. So I don't want to see your thumb. If it's down here having a rest, why? Get it back there. And suddenly we have some nice sounds coming out of ukuleles. And I also wanted to thank Monica. Her last year at the Hills Ukulele Festival, her group sent in, it was the Cat's Dream, or that's the one. Yes, inspired me. All my class, like a whole 27 kids who may or may not want to be there playing the ukulele, we were playing and inspired a song inspired just chords, bing, 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 changing chords, and they're all going, oh, we're amazing. So fantastic, thank you for that. And this year, 2022, Hills Ukulele Festival is on. We're going to be on site, but we're having two festivals. So the weekend of the 14th and 15th of May is on site in Melbourne. So suddenly Australia's a big place. A lot of people can't make it. But the next weekend, we're going to be having an online highlight plus all our fabulous international and interstate people. We'd love, Monica, for you to send something back. Kelly, anyone else, any groups that you have, not just school groups, but community groups, send stuff. Because we will we'll have a highlight reel of the festival with interviews and also international groups as well. So there's something for everyone. Every year we try and make. I'm not sure what I'm going to do 2023 because how do you make it bigger and better from that? So but that's a problem for another year. So and again thanks Anne for organising all of this.
Thanks, Dan. All right. Well. Our next meeting is Saturday, the second Saturday in December. So that's the 11th and at the same time. Yeah. It's
Can I
gonna,
add something?
yeah.
Yeah, I would like to thank Monica for sharing. Same. I'm so for the children. I'm so particular on the holding. Most of the children like to hold like this, and they hold vertical to secure. But I said no, stay vertical so your hand is really moved. So I spent a lot of time correcting them, which I found that a lot of local teacher they actually lose sight on this part of the education part. Holding the ukulele is so important. That's why all my ukulele workshop book, I have a picture. My dolphin, the dolphin is my society icon. So you see all my dolphin holding 2 o'clock. And I told the children, if you go to the shop, the clock shop, you can see all the clocks selling at 10 to 2. So I said, go to the shop and see all the clock, the hand of the clock pointing at 10 to. So you hold your ukulele 2 o'clock because it's a smiley face. Thank you. That's my sharing.
Thank you. All right. Well, thanks everyone. Do we have a topic for next week? Well, Lindsay, you're here. Do you have something? Because we came up with the idea of doing this book kind of thing, right? Assignments, and Sheridan and Collin Tripe have contributed.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we ought to be a bit more up to speed with that, really. Get a bit more organised with it. Yeah.
Well,
I think inviting just if there's any resources people want to share, we can put it together as an ebook or something.
Well, increasingly what I'm doing is, because I've got all these books that I'm writing, I'm using them in my teaching, So in January, I'll be teaching Chinese songs for ukulele, as well as classical.
That reminded me of this one of the schools I'm at. They've had an influx of students from Hong Kong, and I've got one lad who's a very reluctant ukulele player, and I think his parents want him to learn. And it'd be really useful if you knew a melody that he would know, or anyone could suggest a melody that he might know, that I could teach him to make him feel at home. That'd be really useful. So maybe I don't know if there's, I don't know.
Well, there's one song that every single Chinese person in the world knows. I mean, I went to a talk about this, and it's this. It's a pentatonic melody. So I tell my piano students, start. You have to start on the B flat.
Yes.
Then you'll be able to play this song on only the black keys. But I just put the introduction last night. I just created this last night, so I need it tested. So maybe, Lindsay, you could test it for me. Should I send this over to you? You could.
That'd be fantastic. Yeah, that'd be really good. Yeah.
Okay. All right. You can test it for me. Yeah, everything I'm doing needs testing. I'm going through. That the 22 nursery rhymes. I'm having it tested through my class, my Fun with the Ukulele class, and then my classical music. I'm getting my classical music ukulele students testing it. So, but Beatles have got copyright. That's the only thing. Pardon, Lindsay?
Yes. That's the important thing, isn't it? Actually getting people to use the resources that all of us are creating, and I think it's a bit like a stone. By being used, eventually it gets rounded, so you get a nice smooth pebble at the end.
I like that. That's a good analogy. Okay, well, I'm going to stop recording unless anybody has anything urgent.
Well, Anne, you had just asked about a topic and had mentioned something about physical things, like Len was talking about having, problem with his hands. And
yes.
And at the camp I teach at, that's one of the first things we do in the morning. I teach a little. I've taken classes in yoga for musicians and taken Tai Chi and done some physical therapy things. And so I put together a little workshop for musicians, because all of the control for here actually radiates from here, and there's a number of things that you can do that help you regain your dexterity and stay limber by moving some of the big muscles, and it's not anything you have to get on the floor for. And so I mean, if you're curious and you want to do that, I'd be happy to share. I have a little one-page handout that I do on that too, but yeah, let me know. It's also, I usually do a vocal warm-up with it as well, but it doesn't have to have that.
Would you take us through that next week? Sorry, next month, 11th of
Yeah, it takes, the movement part is about 15, 20 minutes, and it's not very hard. I mean, and it's really great if you're spending a lot of time in front of a screen and not moving around a lot. And it's also good for keeping your fingers, limber and not getting too stiff when you're playing. But
let's do that, because I've got students with injuries, and I always talk about warm-ups. So in my stand-up ukulele, I actually did a stand-up warm-up where we actually had to march and dance and move and chord things. So maybe for December, we can celebrate with physical movement. Everybody will go through it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. And I have I think it's like a one-page sheet that would help people remember some of what I do. And it's combination, like I say, it's combination of yoga, Tai Chi, and I mean Qigong, and some physical therapy things that I have found very beneficial.
Great.
So,
yeah,
I think as part of that, I think posture would be really interesting, because when I started learning, I used to read all these books that would tell you to squeeze the ukulele with your arm and that sort of, and now I use like a sort of modified classical guitar sort of posture, but there doesn't seem to be in the same way as with classical guitar. There's a more or less uniform way of sitting with the instrument. Ukulele doesn't seem to have that, and that'd be a really interesting area to explore, I think.
Yeah, although interestingly enough, that's one of the things I share is like in vocal production, they have a concept of, opera singers call it wearing the jewel, where your shoulders are relaxed and your chest is open as if you're showing this piece of bling. And, and it's true, a lot of people with a smaller instrument tend to wrap themselves around it, and that actually interferes with singing. But even sitting, you can sing properly.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got a topic next time.